Bitcoin mining will be almost all of the energy that we'll use one day, because we have so much abundant energy so that we, even with just like 1%, we can function normally, and we have abundant system, and everything else just goes to Bitcoin. And we just talked about that actually in yesterday's episode, where we talked about energy generators have to look into Bitcoin, otherwise they will be acquired by Bitcoin miners at some point, because they are already starting slowly, like Bitcoin miners are already starting to actually acquire electricity generators, energy generators. And if you think about that, like just going forward exponentially, like every energy generator will be a Bitcoin miner and give some off to people that also need it.
Yeah, the residential use will be the waste product. Like that was the premise of the 99%, right?
Yeah.
But it makes sense if you think about all the energy sources that exist in the universe. The most efficient energy sources, like solar or wind, you cannot time them. You cannot decide when you want this energy. The energy arrives on their own schedule. Versus the less efficient energy sources like gas, coal, that stuff, fossil fuels. You can decide when you want to generate that energy, but it's very inefficient. So, and if you think that further, the most efficient energy generation we know that exists is solar power in space. Because the solar energy that hits Earth's surface is only at 30% efficiency. So 70% gets lost because the photons have to go through the atmosphere. So if you move that into orbit, you have much more energy. But there it's even farther from your use case, right? So we have now this great AI bubble forming, right? Where we're building data centers and all that stuff. And I've heard people talking about, okay, can't we move the data centers into space? Right? So that conversation is happening. I mean, there's a lot of problems with that. But ultimately, the biggest problem there, again, is latency. Because just the distance, the light lag is increasing. And so then the conversation goes from compute that is time-bound, right? Not energy is time-bound. It's hard to decide when you want that energy, but also the compute is more or less decoupled from when you want to use it.
Yeah.
And that, again, is interesting because it binds into the whole proof of work thing, where you compute something and store it in a hash for later. So because you're not really storing the energy, you're just storing the compute. And you can use this, that's also why it's called reusable proof of work in the white paper. You can use this proof of work later to secure something, right? We use it for money today primarily, but you could use it for other things. In the book, it's for instance used to secure any IT system from cyber attacks, and that ties into the whole software thesis from Jason P. Lowery, where we said, okay, at some point, if the whole world runs on compute and it's no longer humans interacting with humans, but it will be 90% AIs talking to other AIs, we have this huge wall of a problem. I think we're not talking enough about yet. How can we secure ourselves against another AI hacking our AI? Because the AI has at some point superior programming skills, superior hacking skills. They can flood any system with thousands of requests. And even if you use the measures we have today, we have these captures, we have Face ID, all that stuff. But AI can even today fake it already.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. You could the captures and stuff like that, even Face ID, you can fake.
Exactly. But what can you not fake?
Bitcoin.
Exactly. You cannot fake this proof of work.
Yeah.
So we will also have this collateralized system in it. I think it will start at IT systems before it moves into the broader legal system. That, let's say you want to interact with some service, and it's a public service, so it has to be open and trustless. You will have to deposit some collateral to even send your requests. Right? You want to log in, simple case, you want to log into a website. If you ever mistyped your password, the first time it will say password is wrong. The second time you get it wrong, you will get this captcha usually. Because that's already this deterrence against you trying this, 5 million times. So they throttle your request. But with AI, this throttle doesn't work anymore because they just solve the captcha or do the Face ID or whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. They can flood the server with millions of requests from all IPs all over the world. So if you're some service provider, how do you safeguard against that? And one solution to that is this reusable proof of work.
I think it's actually I thought about that. Apple on the iPhone does it with time, which is interesting because time is like the closest thing to Bitcoin, I guess, with the time chain. But you first have, I think, 3 guesses, and then you have to wait a minute. If you then again type it for like 1 or 2 times wrong, you have to wait then 5 minutes, and it like increases the time that you can actually try it out. But I think as you said, like the most. But how would that then work in Bitcoin? Like if you like go in and log in and you like secure something with Bitcoin, so you have to actually post like Satoshis or something that you like, I sign like a transaction of like 1 Satoshi and like then I get in or something like that.
Let's imagine a way this could work. You want to sign into a service, or you want to open an account with a service, and then this whole time locking doesn't even work because you can always sign on with a new IP, with a new, new name, whatever. So you would send them a few sats over probably Lightning or some network and deposit that as collateral. And then you can make your request, right? You can, and if the other party decides that this was an honest request, you didn't flood it with spam or with, wrong passwords or something. So at some point you do an honest, you behave honestly, then you would get the sets back.
That's a nice idea. I like that because it brings the proof of work into an actual system. And like in IT, I come from IT security. I'm not an expert in it by any means, but there's so many basic problems that would have been already solved with exactly that system. Like all those attacks that come to the server, a lot of those attacks come with something like that, and you just like post a Satoshi and you get it back.
Yeah. And you can even implement it as a third-party system, as some sort of firewall, and just secure any IT system. I mean, you because you also have an IT background like me. We have this also whole issue with software that has issues. Like we have these overly complex software systems where it's not just this vendor writes this software, but they use software from all kinds of different vendors. We have supply chain attacks. I wouldn't say every day, but it happens a lot, and you have to run after these problems all the time. And with a system like that, you could say, okay, this is, I stand my ground here. Please, hackers, feel free to hack me, but it comes at a cost, and you can at any time, scale this cost higher, lower, depending on the risk again.
Hasn't even Saylor brought that up once when he talked about Twitter and the bots? I think there was some discussion, not lately, but like I think 2 years ago or something like that. I remember where he said like we should verify people with Bitcoin, and there should be some.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I think that the problem why we don't have this right now is kind of a chicken and egg problem. We don't have the adoption yet that this makes sense. I think we're at 3%, 4%.
I believe more like 0.1%, but yeah.
Yeah, but at least people who have some software, some wallet, who could do it.
Yeah.
Maybe they have I don't know, some trading account for their stocks, so they could theoretically, they already have access. So it would be easy for any bank or broker to offer this as a service, right? Mm-hmm. So collateral as a service, and then IT systems could plug into that. So I think from a UX and technology perspective, we have everything we need for that. I think we didn't have a defining hack yet, right? Where this whole we run after the problems and nothing happens. We didn't have that hack yet.
For real change, the pain has to be.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be high enough. So also this whole we can solve this problem with our own proprietary technology much easier. And I mean, it's true, right? If you control the whole software stack, of course you can fix your own problems, but you're just delaying the inevitable. At some point, what will you do if or like at some point AI cracks fundamentally something like a captcha or something? Then this whole thing is done. You can just delete the software. It doesn't work anymore. You cannot patch it. You know what I mean? You cannot develop a better captcha if AI just solves captcha done and reads all captchas.
I'm often surprised that it cannot already. I'm first of all like really impressed by the speed of how quick they get better in doing a lot of work. Like 2 years ago, I didn't use it at all. Now I couldn't live without it. I literally had the moment, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, some time ago already, where I didn't had ChatGPT for I think 2 hours. It fell out for 2 hours, and I just stopped working. I was like, oh, let's do lunch now, because it's so integrated in everything I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a whole nother discussion where I have a little bit of fear that using so much AI can seriously impact our brains.
Yeah, it already does and already did. What's interesting is also how it influences how people talk, how people write. I'm sure if you put the book into an AI flagger, it will flag it, not because it's written by AI, but I also use it so much that it influences how I think, how I write. Right? It changes. It introduces you to new vocabulary that you're not exposed to in normal conversations. And also introduces you to new concepts and stuff. So it's like you have a new friend almost that is hyper intelligent but very autistic, and that's like now your new buddy, and of course he rubs off on you, right? So I think that's what you experience, what I experience. That
you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with.
Yeah, and now the number 1 person is a chatbot,
which is which is kind of hilarious. If you tell this anyone in 2020, he will say like it's crazy. It will never happen that quick, and we're in 2025, and like it went so quick, and now like people literally talk their worst nightmares and psychology, depression problems with a chatbot, and people 5 years ago would have laughed you out of the room, and it's just 5 years. It's not a long time.
Are you a science fiction lover at all?
A little bit, but not as much. But I'm a little bit of science fiction lover.
Because in science fiction, and even the popular science fiction like Star Trek, they nailed how this whole chatbot thing went, right?
I've never watched Star Trek,
but like especially in the Next Generation, they in natural language talk to the computer. Hey, computer, do this, do that. And of course the computer responds, and it's eerily similar. Like I rewatched the whole Star Trek thing a few years, I think in 2022 or something, when already we had the chatbots. And it was just eerily on point how they 30 years ago portrayed how we will interact with artificial intelligence and use it in our daily lives. Like you always have this computer that listens. Of course, it was for dramatic effect always a voice interface, because it's hard to do in a TV show typing stuff. But the whole concept of how it's integrated. I
already talk a lot like that.
You do?
Yeah, I do a lot.
Okay.
Especially like if my first touch point is usually voice, and if I want to go deeper, then I start typing, because then I want to paste things and like want to get things like in there. But if I have something new, a problem or a question, even cooking tutorials, I love cooking with ChatGPT. If you've never tried that, it's really good, and it always tastes amazing. Like it's really fascinating. But I wanted to say, I think the closest thing I watched to AI voice bots is probably Iron Man. I also watched Knight Rider, where he has the kid.
Oh yeah, Knight Rider is also a perfect example of that. Yeah.
Knight Rider.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But they also nailed it, right?
Yeah.
They also nailed the AI perfectly. Also in the problems it has, like its weaknesses, they nailed it. It takes you too literally. Sometimes if it's stuck in a problem, it loops, like all that stuff. They predicted it pretty well, and I think that's what sci-fi does. We deconstruct reality from first principles and try to figure out, okay, how could the world look like in X generations, and how then will this impact the people living in that society, right? That's always the overarching framework the sci-fi lives in. We create the world, and then we put people inside and see, okay, how do they deal with the new problems? The technology solved so many problems, but what are the new problems? That's at least how I understand how sci-fi works.
Which is kind of painting reality, but just in the future, just being a little bit too early with predictions, or like being just like, okay, how is the future looking like in today's world?
Yeah, but it's not a prediction. It's always just a game theoretical exercise.
Yeah,
because the sci-fi also is wrong on more things than it is right on. But there's always this small thing that is correct.
Interesting.
And maybe something I wrote in the ratification turns out to be correct.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast, and if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.